finals for the NBA are done. They are done. Today we had some exciting games: Pacers, Knicks, and Timberwolves, Nuggets. And it must be said that all of these series, save for the Boston series, which was honestly pretty uneventful and really, besides for one fleeting moment, was pretty obvious which direction it was going. A lot of these were really good back and forth series. I mainly was able to watch the West Coast per usual just because of scheduling and stuff. But I feel like the closest of any of these series is the Thunder Mavericks, because like Minnesota, Denver, they were kind of trading blowouts a little bit. The Boston series wasn't particularly close. I guess Pacers Knicks was kind of close. There was only, no, there were 2, 3 blowouts, 4 blowouts. Now those weren't actually particularly close as a series. But Thunder, Mavericks, you only have really 2 blowouts, which I classify as a win by more than 10 points. But like the Timberwolves Nuggets series, they were trading. So I might start talking about this one first. Timberwolves Nuggets. The Timberwolves win this in 7. That's actually what I predicted them to do. I said Timberwolves in 7. But this series was wild because it started out with 2 dominant wins, or the Timberwolves game 1, but then especially game 2, they held the Nuggets to 80 points. And like the narratives around that were crazy. But then the Nuggets win 3 straight. And the narrative immediately changed again as I go, like, Jokic has finally figured out this Timberwolves defense. Things like that. And then, like, it was also kind of unfortunate because that coincided with the return of Rudy Gobert. Because he was gone he was gone that first game. I think he played game 2. I might have to double check that one. Game 2. Now, Rudy Gobert missed game 2 as well. And those that do the Timberwolves won. Then Rudy came back for game 3 and they got blown out. They lost game 4 by 7. And they got sort of blown out game 5. And so then they went from being 2-0 up to 3-2 down, and the narrative was like, oh, Rudy, come back, stuff like that. But then they absolutely dominated the Nuggets in game 6, a 45-point win there. And that game was when, for me, the Nuggets cracks really started to show. Because in that game, Jokic shot the ball 19 times, only hit 4. He led the team with 22 points. But I feel like Jokic was shooting the ball way too much that game. And that's when Jamal Murray, he really started to not look good that game. And there's been like some rumors, concerns there that Jamal Murray's been hurt since the Lakers series. After those first 2 games, there's a lot of people saying like, if Jamal Murray is hurt, just rest him, things like that. But they won 3 straight, that kind of died down a little bit. But then that game 4, Jamal Murray only had 10 points in 33 minutes, went 4 for 18. weirdest thing is it kind of started feeling like KCP was getting iced out, and he wasn't getting the touches he needs. And then he wouldn't be in rhythm when he did finally get touches. And this game 7 was crazy because Denver was completely in control of this game going into halftime. I watched the first half of this game 7, and I think it was like 53 to 38 Denver going into the half. But in that second half, the Minnesota Timberwolves just came out, and I have, honestly, Michael Malone needs to be, I don't want to say fired, but someone needs to ask him some questions around this game. Because the Nuggets blew a 20-point lead at home in a game 7. But he played Jokic for all but 1 minute of this game. Let me see the box score. Jokic played for 47 minutes. And by the end of the game, he was so gassed. Like, you could see, his shot was falling short. He couldn't contest hard. He couldn't go up hard for rebounds. And they're only playing an 8-man rotation. But Holiday only had 9 minutes. Reggie Jackson only had 5 minutes. Neither of them had any points. KCP only had 5 points. Michael Porter Jr. had 7 points in 34 minutes on 12 shots. He went 1 for 6 from 3. And last year, because they won the championship, it kind of like covered this up a little bit, but Michael Porter Jr. has been not very good for 2 playoffs now. And he's getting paid, I think, like $35 million a year. He's taking up a ton of cap space. And he's going 3 for 12, 7 points. Aaron Gordon only had 4 points, but he only touched the ball 5 times. Jokic had 28 shots. Murray had 27 shots. Like, it's just not gonna 69 combined points, or Jokic and Murray. The rest of the Nuggets had 21. It's just not gonna work, especially because Jokic's strength is his passing and getting people the ball, but you're having him take 28 shots. I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me, and it's really weird. On the other hand, this series, honestly, for me, is Naz Reid was the X factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Especially in this game 7, Naz Reid was going crazy, and you can look at his stats: 22 minutes, 4 for 7, 1 for 4 from 3, only 11 points. You might be like, yeah, only 4 rebounds, but he had 2 blocks, and he would just make really timely plays. He had that great block on Jokic, and then he got the bucket at the other end. Like, Naz Reid was just consistently making plays this entire series. Naz Reid was playing great defense on Jokic this entire series. Like, he was legitimately locking him down at times. Gobert had stepped it up offensively in this game 7. He had 13 points. He was 7 from 9 from the free throw line. And I loved Karl Anthony Towns getting that putback dunk to ice this game, because Karl Anthony Towns is a guy that, I don't want to say he's been like slandered, but so many people disrespect Towns and like how good he is. He's an elite center, but so many people downplay him. And it's really nice seeing how he's stuck with this team. He's getting his big moments now. He's being impactful. And then a guy like McDaniels, who's kind of, no one thinks much of Jaden McDaniels. He's not like a superstar, but he had 23 points in this game. Shot 75% from 3, got 6 boards. And McDaniels has just been solid this entire series and was a key X factor in the Wolves winning. Obviously, people are going to talk about Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has a quiet game this game. He went 6 for 24, 2 for 10 from 3 in this game 7 I'm talking about. And his team still got the win just because they played such great team ball and they have those guys they can trust to pick up the slack when someone their star player is slumping a little bit. But like I said, I personally picked the Wolves in this series. I thought they were the better constructed team. For me, I like the underdog story, and the Timberwolves being a franchise for so long, they've had so little. And then them going back from 20, to be honest, going to halftime here, I thought, well, the Timberwolves, that Cinderella story's over. It's going to be Denver. And I thought, no way that the Mavericks could beat Denver, but this is a far more interesting matchup in my opinion. Mavericks versus Minnesota. I think these are two teams that are going to play each other very interestingly. But yeah, and it's just this Nuggets team. I think Jokic covers up a lot of their inefficiencies and a lot of their problems. Jokic has kind of just been plastering over all of those issues, but Jamal Murray just was inconsistent this series and the Lakers series. Like I said, in the Lakers series, it felt like he wouldn't show up until the fourth quarter. Michael Porter Jr. now has been underwhelming for 2 playoffs in a row. The Nuggets are a great team. They've got these role players that they've put into good positions to succeed with Jokic there, but with the Timberwolves, the way they play the game, their defense, their personnel, Reed, Cat, Gobert, McDaniels to a lesser extent, these are all guys that can kind of neutralize what Denver is set up to do. And it almost didn't work, but in the end, 7 games, they do get it to work. But next up, we'll talk about the other West Coast series, which is Thunder versus Mavericks. I saw somebody. They said that the Oklahoma City Thunder's 3 best players were named Shea, Gilgeous, and Alexander. And at times in this series, it did feel like that. And Williams was really good, actually. Jalen Williams, he's actually surprised me. I haven't been keeping super close attention to this Thunder team really in general. But the other thing that really was, in my opinion, one of the biggest points of one of the biggest negatives for this Thunder team was Chet Holmgren just completely being unable to rebound. He just got bullied on the boards basically every single game. So game 7 he had 4. Game 6, game 5 he had 4. Game 4 he had 9. I guess that one's good, but it's he's primarily playing at their center position. And he was getting out-rebounded by P.J. Washington, who is playing at the 4 every night, not to mention Daniel Gafford. And, he has size, height-wise, but he has, no heft to him, no girth, no girth and tonnage. So he's either going to need to, put some muscle on, put some weight on, to be able to bang down low a little bit better, box out a little bit better. Or I think maybe if you're the Thunder, I know there's been talks of them moving Giddey, because Giddey was was really underwhelming in this series. Came off the bench. Game 6, he had 11 points in 12 minutes. Let me look at their wins. Game 1, he had 2 points in 17 minutes. 1 for 4 from the field. Eventually ends up getting replaced with Isaiah Joe. But this Thunder team, it's weird because they were the 1 seed, right? And somewhat comfortably won their first series. But they were going up against a Dallas team without Maxi Kleber. Luka Doncic was playing on one leg. And you could never comfortably say that they looked like the better team even in their wins. It was just weird. This Thunder team is really weird. I don't know what to think of them. I don't think they had to make like any big hasty moves. But I think if you're getting rid of Giddey, maybe a guy like DeAndre Hunter, although apparently he's being linked to Utah, so the Utah Jazz have. You're not going to get Markkanen. You're not going to get. I don't think John Collins is going to be traded. Walker Kessler. I don't see them moving him. So again, their roster. Maybe a move for John Collins, actually. But last year, 15.1 points. I don't know if they need like a John Collins type. I saw someone say DeAndre Hunter, like that sort of player. For the Thunder, but they have to be frustrated because they helped facilitate, I believe, they helped facilitate the PJ Washington trade to Dallas, and PJ Washington has been going off these playoffs and this series. PJ Washington gets the game-winning free throws in Game 6. So if you're the Thunder, especially that's frustrating. The Mavericks now going to the Western Conference Final. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them. I'm going to do my predictions at the very end, but like I said, this OKC team is in an interesting spot. They have more draft picks than contracts available, so obviously a lot of those picks are going to get moved. As somebody saying like they need to get Donovan Mitchell, I don't think Donovan Mitchell's a good fit for this Thunder team at all. I would not. I think they need to get a 4 or a legit 5. Let Chet play the 4. Because Chet cannot get rebounds. And they're getting killed on the offensive boards in this series. Only being killed on both boards, but offensive boards especially was hurting Oklahoma City in this series. And, you know, like they were going against Dale Gafford, etc. Like, and I like Gafford. He was good, lively as well at 15 boards. But Williams is your leading rebounder for OKC in Game 6. It's just like that can't be. So they have to bring in somebody who can get boards. Maybe a 3-point shooter, like a dedicated 3-point shooter, because their 3-pointers, Chet goes 1 for 7, 3 for 5 from Williams, 4 for 5 from Shea, that's okay. 3 for 4 from Joe, that's okay. Lou Dort, 2 for 7. Over 1 for Wiggins, over 2 for Giddey, 1 for 6 from Wallace. I think they need to get a guy who can maybe more reliably hit a 3-point shot, but not be ball dominant. An off-ball guard, maybe, to replace Isaiah Joe. Because he's alright, but I don't think you're going to win a title with him at your 2-guard spot. Or Lou Dort. But this Dallas Mavericks team, man, they remind me kind of the Timberwolves in a way. Because they have a roster of guys who, they're not household names. You have Luka and Kyrie, obviously. And Kyrie, this season, but these playoffs in particular, has really impressed me with his leadership. Just how he's been playing, he's been so good. Reminds me a lot of prime Kyrie. But they have guys like Derrick Jones Jr. You know, I'm somewhat familiar with this game. He was a Portland Trailblazer for a little bit. His whole thing was he can't shoot. He's a dunker. He's a cutter. And, you know, he's going to play at the 2. Can't defend. And I think Portland was like his second or third home at that point. I think he was in Miami for a little bit. And, like, no one had really been able to do anything with him. Kind of, like, getting outdated a game. He comes to Dallas in Game 6. He has 40 minutes. 4 for 6 from 3. 8 field goal makes. He gets 4 boards, 2 assists, a block. He's a plus 18, 22 points, same as Kyrie. They've just got these guys, PJ Washington and Gafford are great examples. I love both those guys. And then Lively, which I believe is their young guy. Oh, they got him from OKC, that's right. And Hardy is there. No. I thought, who was their guy they drafted anyway? Green. Yeah. Josh Green, he didn't do much. But they got these guys Lively and PJ, and like they got these guys, like I said, like even people who follow the NBA don't really know these guys that much. But they're balling out here, they're doing well in Dallas. And I like seeing that. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of how Minnesota plays, or how even Denver played. You know, very team-based game. And I always like supporting that. Obviously now, the two teams, like I was like, I either want the Mavericks to win. That's probably my number 1. Then my number 2 would be the Timberwolves. But obviously one of them is they're gonna take each other out at this point. But the Mavericks win that one in 6. Luka is going to the Western Conference Final for, I believe, the first time in his career. But what I love about this, with the Celtics, they haven't won a ring in a little while. I think was 09 their last one. Let me see. Most recent championship. Their most recent one. Oh, 08. That's right. 08, yeah. So, it's been 16 years for them. I don't think the Pacers have one. The Mavericks haven't won it since Dirk. And the Timberwolves don't have one. So no matter who wins, it kind of feels like it's cool. Because like it's okay, either Luka's winning one, or Edwards and Cat, or Tatum, or Halliburton. So at this point, like, any of these teams winning the finals is like, I'm not gonna be upset about any of these. It's not a dynasty. It's kind of a cool, new, fresh thing. But I'm quickly gonna pause, move it to the East, talk about the East Coast games. One last thought. I'm still shocked that Jokic was only sat for a minute in Game 7. Like, that just feels unacceptable. Alright. So, this series has been over for so long, like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot what happened. Game 2 is your only win for the Cavaliers, and actually it's a pretty solid win. Donovan Mitchell with 29 in that one, but outside that they got blown out, and basically every other game, Game 4 and 5, you can maybe say those were close, especially Game 4, but that Game 1 was absolutely brutal. Again, Donovan Mitchell leading the way in that one, and this really did kind of cement for me that Donovan Mitchell's not going to stick around in Cleveland beyond this year. I think he's going to go somewhere else. Although what I do like is, oh, he had that left calf strain for Game 5. That's right, I forgot about that. But what I did like to see is because I felt like in round 1, Mobley was kind of lackluster a lot of the time. But I thought Mobley did pretty well. This series, especially Game 5, he had 33. But even in these losses, Mobley was, we had 19 there, but he's just so inconsistent, it's crazy. But this Cavs team is so weird, because like Donovan Mitchell's probably gone. Garland felt like he really underperformed this series. Like Garland, I don't know what's going on with them, but this Cavs team, like, I don't know, like I kind of just felt like again, this felt like it was gonna be the outcome no matter what. This Celtics team is a freight train, and now they just have had tons of risks. They only played 5 games, and the reward for the Pacers winning this hard-fought 7-game series against the Knicks, who play a physical, grind-you-down style of basketball, is they get to face the Celtics, who've been sitting at home for a week getting healthy. Now again, I've talked about it before, like, sometimes that can be a detriment, obviously. You sit too long, you get cold. Maybe that injury you've been playing through starts to swell up, it starts to bother you a little bit more, whatever else. But also this Celtics team, I believe they had some guys who had picked up little things, so maybe they're a little bit better. But yeah, this Celtics Cavaliers series, I don't have too much to say about it. First of all, admittedly, I didn't watch the series except for Game 5. Just because it would be on at like 4 in the morning in my time zone. But it just was an interesting matchup to me. Like I said, whoever won that series, Cavaliers Magic, it kind of felt like, they were a tier below. Even like it felt like there was like 3 tiers of teams in this Eastern Conference playoff. The top tier, you had the Celtics and the Bucks, in my opinion. I think a tier below them and a tier at the bottom, and I felt like Cavaliers Magic were a tier at the bottom. Maybe the Heat as well, but I think the Heat, if they didn't face the Celtics in round 1, they could have maybe fared a little bit better. But the Celtics team just feels like a wagon. Like I've said since the beginning, I've said it since like early in the season. I think they feel destined for the finals. I'm not super convinced this Pacers team is going to slow them down too much. But this New York, speaking of the Pacers, that Game 7, they shot 67% from the field. And honestly, this series, like, it was kind of not as exciting as I thought, because they kind of were just trading big wins. Like, I think Game 1's a 4-point margin, Game 2 is 9, 5 points in Game 3, that's alright, but you have like a 40-point margin in Game 4, 30-point margin in Game 5, 13-point margin in Game 6, and a 21-point margin in Game 7. Like, you're just kind of, and the Knicks facing all of the injury issues they were having down the stretch, with Tom Thibodeau's, style of play, OG Anunoby not being able to come back and play until later in the series, only playing 5 minutes in Game 7. As soon as they started, as soon as guys started dropping. But look at this, like, so Game 6, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. New York Knicks played 13 dudes in Game 6 in the playoffs. And some of these guys, like, any other circumstances they wouldn't be playing, but just because these injuries, whatever else. just kind of forced to. So at a certain point, the series, even though the Knicks still got a couple wins here and there, it just felt like it was over because of how worn down the Knicks were. And Brunson playing 30 plus minutes a night, only got 18 points game 4. Game 7, the one they lost, I think Brunson, he plays 29 minutes, gets 17 points. DiVincenzo's the one who goes off that night, gets 39. But I just felt like Brunson was really being asked to do too much a lot of the time. And what's crazy too is this series, it didn't really feel like Tyrese was playing all that well. Tyrese Halliburton at times felt very, I don't want to say mediocre, because it wasn't mediocre, but he just wasn't his usual self. And it's like, well, now would be the time to pounce on a team whose main guy, he's not doing that hot. Siakam was struggling some of these games. I would say Siakam, I don't want to say he had bad games, but 22, 20 in game 2. What did he have? He had 14. He wasn't being extraordinarily dominant in those matchups. Obviously he's affecting the game in other ways, right? He's a big body. He had 9 rebounds game 2, for example, but I just felt like the Pacers had these guys who weren't playing up really to their full potential, but the Knicks, because of injuries and everything else, they were just unable to capitalize. And you look at game 2, for example, that second win in a row the Knicks got. Hart played 48 minutes, Hartenstein played 39, DiVincenzo played 44, Brunson played 32. And I feel like eventually that just caught up to them, and down the stretch in this series, game 4 and beyond, a lot of the Knicks players just looked tired. They would come into the game looking gassed, the jump ball hadn't even happened yet, they looked gassed. And the Pacers they have a lot of size on that team. Halliburton's big, they got Toppin, Siakam, Turner, they got good size, and they're gonna wear you down over the course of a series, and that's exactly what happened. Obviously Brunson had the foot injury, leg injury as well, which didn't help things, obviously, but that's, in my opinion, a result of the way the Knicks play, and the Pacers just kind of outlasted them. They continuously played their game. Eventually the Knicks wore themselves down. The Pacers, to use a racing analogy, they survived the race. They ran their race. Alright, now we come to my prediction for the conference finals. Like I said, if I had to pick which teams I want to win at this point, it would be either the Mavericks or the Timberwolves. If I pick the team who I think is going to win, I think it's going to be the Celtics. But I'm looking in the West. The Mavericks, I think they're going to need Kleber back for this series. But even then, I know I bet against the Mavericks last round. I took them in round 1. I'm not a Mavericks hater. What the heck is that? Hold on. There were some birds fighting outside my window. That's fun. As I was saying. But this Mavericks team, as much as I'd love to see Luka in the NBA final, this Timberwolves team plays such good defense. They're still healthy. I don't think they're missing any key guys. Luka's hobbled. Mavericks are missing guys. Yeah, give me the Timberwolves in 7. And then the East. Like I said, this Pacers team just came out of a grueling 7-game series. I think they're healthy now, though. I think they are. But the Celtics team, they've just gone 8-2 losses in their last 2 series. They are just coasting along at this point. And I don't see how this Pacers team beats them. Give me the Celtics in 5. I'll say they'll go 4-1 again. So I'm going to take the Timberwolves versus the Celtics in the NBA final. That's my prediction. But let me know what you guys thought about the conference semifinals. Which of these series were your favorite? In my opinion, the Thunder Maverick series was the best. I thought that was some of the most exciting basketball being played, especially that game 6 was very good. But let me know what you thought. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. Until next time, guys. Bye bye.